of action to demand an immediate ceasefire in Gaza and to oppose U.S. and British support for Israel. In Washington, large crowds waved Palestinian flags as mostly young protesters, many wearing traditional keffiyeh, gathered in a show of solidarity on the 99th day of the Israel-Hamas war in the Gaza Strip. Ceasefire now, people chanted while carrying banners and posters that read Free Palestine and End the War on Gaza. On the stage, a few blocks from the White House, several Palestinian Americans originally from Gaza but now living in U.S. states offered emotional accounts of friends and relatives killed or wounded in Gaza. More than 24,000 Palestinians have been killed since the start of the war in October last year, and the death toll in Israel is less than 1,500. Well, I have joining me via Zoom to discuss this the lecturer, Politics and International Relations, Liverpool Hope University, Dr. Bola Adedurun. It's good to have you join us on the news at this time. Of course, disturbing pictures. It's 100 days since the war started in Gaza. I want to get your assessment to this lingering war. Do you see an end in sight?
Unfortunately, it doesn't appear that there is an end in sight. Even though 23,000 Palestinians have been reported killed, 10,000 of those have been children. And that's more than the number of civilians who have been killed in the war in Ukraine since February 2022. And so even though there has been a clear devastation of the Gaza Strip and other parts of Gaza, and we're seeing the escalation of the war into other parts of the region, including Lebanon and now onto the Red Sea. Unfortunately, it appears that this war, there is no end in sight. And this is partly because of some of the statements that we've seen from Israeli officials, including the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Over the weekend, Benjamin Netanyahu, in responding to the ICJ, to the case before the ICJ, I said that regardless of the decision by the ICJ, Israel will not be stopped in its attempt to achieve its aims of the war, which is to completely eliminate Hamas. So I think, unfortunately, the answer to your question is that this continued devastation of Gaza will continue.
Pretty sad. A few days back, we saw South Africa take Israel to court. That's the top court in the world. We've also seen protests in Washington, D.C., and also in London as part of a global day of action, of course, demanding that there should be an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. How quiet or how disturbing is the quietness we're getting from the world powers?
It's a conspiracy of silence that I have, which is very sad. It's sad because for all our rhetoric about human rights and human rights promotion, about the concept of the responsibility to protect, and all of these lofty ideas about protecting civilians, it's easy. Suddenly we've seen that when it comes to Palestinians, when it comes to innocent children in Palestine, that the world has fell silent. And this conspiracy of silence from Western countries has been there from the early stages of war. Yes, granted, Israel was attacked on October 7th. Yes, granted, the actions by Hamas was plain and simple terrorism. Yes, granted, Israel has a right to defend itself. But how do we justify 10,000 children killed in Palestine over the course of 100 days? And this is the troubling aspect of it, that Western leaders are lining up to support Israel. We're seeing the increased escalation of this war. Now UK and the US are now beginning to attack Houthi rebels. And make no mistake about it, this is as part of an effort to allow Israel to continue the war in one way or the other. So I am not surprised that Western countries, particularly the US, have decried and have condemned the decision by South Africa, the right decision by South Africa to take this matter to the ICJ and to have ICJ determine that Israel is committing genocide in Palestine, and also to ask Israel to stop immediately its actions in that part of the world. It's also not surprising that the world has kind of aligned in the ways that we expect. The Arab League have come in support of South Africa's actions. The Organization of Islamic Cooperation, the OIC, has also aligned with South Africa. But unfortunately, Western countries have continued their conspiracy of silence, which is very sad to see.
Hopefully in the coming days, diplomacy will work out to ending the war in Gaza. Lecturer Politics and International Relations, Liverpool Hope University, Dr. Bola Adediro, thank you so much for joining us on TVC News at 10.
Thank you for having me.